Hey guys, welcome back to Open Spaces. We are so glad you're here joining us for more of our parenting series.
Yes.
We have an awesome guest today.
Today we are talking to, from a hotel in Nashville, actually, that we were with her at an event.
Yeah.
And we wanted to gain her wisdom for our listeners. And so we said, hey, can we do a podcast with you while we're at this event? So we're sitting in a hotel room, so it's a little weird. It looks a little odd. It's not like the best look if you're watching it. If you're listening, it's the same. You won't notice.
Living room vibes.
Yeah, but today on the podcast, we have Greta Eskridge, who is, she's amazing. Her story, her and her husband, Aaron, their story is incredible of God's redemption in their life, and there's so many years in on that, but just so much wisdom. And through their story that you will hear, they have a passion, she has a passion to help families talk to their kids about pornography.
Yeah.
And so we feel like it's really important in a parenting series, like this is something that in Open Spaces, creating a vulnerable space that all of us at some point will be needing to talk to our kids about pornography. So
it's very surprising too, just even I think she says we should start talking to them about it like at age 8.
Yes.
Helping them learn what to do.
Yeah, and we've had to walk that journey and figure this out with telling our kids about it. And it's like you don't want to, but yet it's the right way to do it and to have those open conversations.
Right. This is super helpful and very practical. So I think that you will just glean a lot from it. So here's Greta Eskridge. Welcome back to Open Spaces. Hey guys, we are so excited today because we have an amazing person to introduce many of you to, a new friend of ours, Greta Eskridge. We're so thankful you're with us today. And this is really fun because we are actually in Nashville at the moment. We're in Franklin, Tennessee. We are all
sitting in a hotel room.
Yeah.
With our, holding our microphones.
Setup, our little homegrown
In all
setup.
honesty, we wanted to bring our mic stands, but we couldn't fit them in our car.
Along with all the band equipment.
With all the band equipment, because we're also leading worship at this event.
Yeah, so we're all at a conference together right now, which has been an incredible time.
And we just got the honor of hearing Greta speak this morning, and she spoke
I got to hear you guys. So it just feels like we're best friends now.
That's right.
Just met.
That's right. So let's just start from the beginning. We would love to, we're going to talk about helping our children understand and navigate through this modern world that has a lot of pornography. Yeah. And so we're going to jump into that, but laying the groundwork for that, this is something that's very near and dear to your heart. So would you help us just kind of take us back? Where did that begin? And why is this something that's important to you?
Well, it began from a place of pain because God has a wonderful way of taking our pain and using it for good if we let Him. And He did that with us. 16 years ago, give or take, my husband, Aaron, confessed to me that he had an affair and also that he had an addiction to pornography. I didn't know at the time because I knew almost nothing about the world of pornography, but it's very common, even statistically common for a person who's using pornography regularly to want to act out. So off screen. And so it's very common for a person who's using pornography regularly to have an affair, for example. And that was our story. And so as part of our healing journey, working towards restoration and really healing for both of us, we began to first address how can we help our kids be better equipped than we were? Because both of us grew up in Christian homes in the 80s and 90s when nobody was really talking about this. Our parents did the best they could with the resources they had, but they were minimal because at that time, no one was talking about this stuff.
Right.
And so we were like, well, how could we do better for our kids? And then we thought, okay, well, I'll be honest. First, I'm more of the talker.
Nice.
in the group at first. Aaron's coming into his own now and he's amazing. But at the time it was like, okay, I will share with parents because I want to help them. And so just began sharing with parents, and ultimately it resulted in a book in which I shared our whole story for the first time. And
this book just came out last year?
Yeah, a year ago. And Aaron was on board with that. It wasn't like I was like, hey, you have to.
Sure.
We came to that decision together. And it's really vulnerable, but man, God is doing good work.
Yeah. So amazing.
Yeah.
Something we heard you say today when you were talking just about you and Aaron in the restoration process, something that I think was really helpful to the room was talking through just addressing the fact you said, can you just say some of the things you were saying this morning about you're not telling women to like stay in. I mean, I think that's such a, we've heard that, like, so should I just stay in this abusive relationship or should I stay in this, betrayal that is happening? Just keep fighting, put the Christian lens on it, and I'm sticking in it, Can you speak a little bit to like what you said about that? Because I think it's
why
helpful.
You stayed.
Like why you stayed and what's helpful for women and men to hear.
Yeah. That's a really important part of both Aaron and I's message, that I chose to forgive, but I chose to stay because he repented. He then was willing to change and he did the work. Because if only one party, especially the betrayed spouse, is saying, I'm going to forgive, I'm going to stay, but that other partner, the betrayer, is not willing to do the work, not willing to change, then it's not going to work. And it's not right. In fact, it can be dangerous or damaging to that. More often the wife who is in that position, but not always. And that's not right. And I don't believe it's what God wants, especially for, his beloved daughters who are sometimes stuck in this place where they've been fed a message of, you're the good Christian wife, so you need to stay because that's your job.
Yes.
And you need to fix it. And I'm not saying that the wife, the betrayed spouse doesn't also have work to do.
Sure.
But man, it can't just be, he got found out, he said he was sorry, and then you stick around and do all the work. It has to be both.
What was the specific thing that you saw Aaron doing that a wife listening, if she's in your situation, she would stay because she would look for this in her husband? So he was doing the work, he was choosing to do that. But how did you see that? Like, how did you see that actually playing out? Like, was it y'all felt like you were, just how did that play for y'all?
Well, things like real tangible things like going to therapy, reading all kinds of books, learning about his own issues with addiction and recovery, treating me differently, being willing to, I talked about this earlier, even things like non-sexual touch, which being willing to say, like, I want to show you that I want to be with you. I want to honor you. I'm not asking anything of you when I rub your feet.
Yeah.
I just want to do this because I love you and I want to honor you and respect you. Like that, all of these different actions add up, and those are things that show change. Is your spouse going to be perfect? No. Is there going to be fallout still and a long, hard road? Yes. But if both of you are working on healing, that is going to be evident. And I will say one thing I notice so much is in these scenarios, so often it'll be the suggestion, okay, the betrayer, get counseling. Get counseling as a married couple. And then the betrayed spouse, nothing for them.
Right.
And they're just left. They have been hit by a truck.
Yes.
And they're just supposed to just figure it out.
Right.
And it really needs to be in that situation. The betrayer works on his stuff first or her stuff. The betrayed works on their stuff.
Yes.
And then you can work on your marriage too. But at first, man, you need to both be investing in your healing. And Aaron was really willing to do that and took accountability too for what happened.
How long would you say in that process did it take you to begin to trust him again? And I'm sure that I would imagine the trust piece was over a long haul, but when do you remember noticing, like, I'm beginning to trust you again?
Yeah, there are specific things he did to help me make it easier for me to trust him. Like, here's every password I have. You could look at anything I'm doing anytime.
Give you access.
Yes, you have access to all of my digital stuff. You could look through like the glove compartment of my truck to see if there's anything in there. I mean, and that sounds crazy, but when you have been betrayed, those are the kinds of things that run through your head. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know who this person is. I need to look at everything. And he was like, yes, you can.
Yes. You're rebuilding totally.
Yes. And even things like he had to go on a trip for work and he was going to be out of state. And I was like, I don't want you in that hotel room by yourself.
That totally makes sense.
I'm afraid.
Absolutely.
And he said, what if, and he had a colleague, one of his friends, and he's like, what if I ask him if I can share a room? And I was like, you would do that? Like, that's humiliating, right? Like, that's awkward. And he's like, yes, I would.
Wow.
And he did. And his friend was so gracious
That's
and
awesome.
totally stepped into our mess and was willing to do that.
Yes.
That's really awesome.
That's friendship. But
Totally.
also those are the kind of things that helped me learn to trust him again and that's what I mean by doing the work. Like saying like, yeah, you ask and I will do it, even if it's uncomfortable.
Amazing.
But even so, I would say it was probably years, maybe 3, 4, even 5 years before I felt like, oh, I don't need to check your phone. I don't need to worry.
Because how long ago was this for y'all?
16 years.
16 years.
Yeah.
Wow. What a story of redemption.
It's amazing. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I want people to, I have so many questions, but I want people to.
But we got to get to, I want to talk
I know,
about
we gotta
pornography
get to the
and
children's
kids.
stuff.
Like helping
but I want
kids.
people to hear your story. So we're going to make sure that we have all of your resources because you have so much to offer in the whole arc of your story.
Yeah.
And we've only just scratched the surface. But I do want to get into the piece about how we help our children.
Yeah.
And I love, it's so cool that like you are now the spokesperson in your family because I think that is so unique, but it's awesome that you were willing to do it because it wasn't your historical story.
Yeah.
But because of what has happened in your family, you've chosen to be like, well, now I know about it. Let me offer what I know. And I think that's so beautiful and generous. So help us. Where do we even begin? What would you say are some of the initial things that parents need to understand when it comes to pornography in our kids? Because I think we are all like, our kids are young, but we have a 6th grade boy. And so, we're kind of in that space.
But we've already
talked
talked to him about pornography.
We have, yes.
We've talked
So
to
he's
both.
aware.
We already have talked to him,
But
explained.
I think in this time, we're all aware that like it's out there, it's rampant, but like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like even as our 6th grader, like he has said, like friends of his at school are like
Kind of bragging about,
like I've
I
looked
know.
at porn and
Isn't that crazy?
and you don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, and I'm like left going, but is it true? Did they do it, or are they just saying it for attention? Either way, as a parent, you're terrified.
Yeah.
And with every kid having a phone coming home on the bus, and even though our kids we don't let our kids have phones.
Yeah. Other kids do.
You can't we can't control what they're doing with other kids. That terrifies me.
Yeah.
Help us, Greta.
Help us, Greta. What do we do? How do we talk to our kids?
Where do we begin?
Well, you already did. So, kudos to you because that's the biggest hurdle that I think a lot of parents have to face is that they're afraid to have that initial conversation. But statistically, kids' first exposure, which is almost always accidental, like they see it, either someone shows it to them or they stumble upon it while they're, doing a search for, I want to draw a Disney princess or whatever, and something comes up accidentally. But that's usually between the ages of 8 and 11. Wow. So the first thing I say to parents is you actually need to have the conversation sooner than you thought.
Yes.
Because kids are exposed younger than they thought. And if we can talk to our kids before they're exposed to pornography, that means we can have a proactive response rather than a reactive response.
So good.
But it's very tempting to wait because we're like, well, I don't want to talk to my 8-year-old about porn. That's crazy. Who is this lady?
Yeah.
But if we wait till 6th grade or 9th grade to have that conversation, when we think, okay, finally, I need to say something, by then they may have already been exposed and may have already seen it. And then we have to be reactive. It's so much better to be proactive and to be the voice of authority in our kids' lives on this issue. When we're the first people they hear about it from, then we become the expert instead of Google or their friends or wherever else they hear it. So have that first conversation with your kids when they're young.
How can you give us some examples?
Yeah.
Take us to an 8-year-old conversation.
Yes.
How would you begin that conversation?
Well, let's role play. I'm the 8-year-old.
Okay.
Mom. No, I'm just kidding.
Mom, give me some snacks.
Okay, but first.
But first.
And actually, that is what I would say. Like, hey, sweetheart, I would say do it while you're doing something else, playing catch, going for a walk with the dog. Not like, let's sit down and have this real formal conversation.
And why is that? Why do you not do that? Just because it makes it a other thing? Or?
It makes it more awkward. It makes it more uncomfortable. It makes it feel like, oh, this is something that is like not a normal conversation. It's like special and kind of weird. Also, when we have shoulder to shoulder activity, so like we're going for a walk, we're hiking, or we're doing an activity, throwing the ball back and forth, like that takes away some of the discomfort and
that makes
it just like so much easier to have that conversation. So while you're doing some activity with your 8-year-old, you can say, hey, sweetheart, buddy, I need to tell you about something called pornography. And yes, I always advocate using the real word.
Totally.
Because we want our kids, it is a safety measure. If they are ever exposed to pornography, they need to tell you. And if they can state categorically, this is what I saw, this is what it is, that helps their story be believable. And also it gives them authority to have protection.
That's so good.
It's very
good. I need you to know about this thing called pornography. It's something that's not good for you. It's bad for you. It's my job to keep you safe from things that could hurt you, and pornography could hurt you. So I want to tell you what it is, and I want you to know what to do if you ever see it. And they're probably not going to have any questions at all.
So how do you describe it to them?
So I would say you want to give the least amount of information to keep them the most safe. So not a lot of details. Okay. You're going to say something like, pornography is pictures or movies of people with no clothes on. We could see their privates. We know, because by 8, you've probably already had that conversation with your kids, that privates are private, or whatever you call it in your family. Right. And they're not for other people to see, and we don't look at other people's. And so if you were ever to see pictures or movies on a screen like that, or in a book, that's much less likely to happen, but let's cover our bases. Here's what I want you to do. And then you say, I want you to stop looking at it. And that means you close the computer, turn the phone over, or if someone's showing it to you on their screen, you say, I don't want to look at that. So stop looking at it. I want you to walk away. Like, physical movement is so helpful to let them know they can leave that place, leave that device, leave that screen, that person. And then I want you to come talk to me or daddy or some other grown-up and say, I think I saw pornography. Will you help me? And you won't be in trouble. I will be so proud of you for telling me what happened, because that is the best way for me to help you stay safe.
That's amazing.
So you're not necessarily saying it's like, I just want to clarify. You're not saying like, it's people, it would be people with clothes off having sex.
I wouldn't say that to 8-year-olds.
Okay, you're just saying it's people that are showing their privates, and it's they don't have clothes on. Yeah. And so you're not getting into the sex portion of it, but it's like just letting them know that.
Yeah. I would say by teen years, they're going to know that it's people having sex. Yeah. But at 8, they might not even at that point, they might not even know what sex is. Yeah. Right. So, and that's always like a sticking point for parents. They're like, well, how can I tell my kids about pornography if they don't know what sex is? And I say, they don't need to know the two
that's
totally are connected.
Because I would have always put the two together. Yes. I have. Yes. And it's really helpful to think like, oh, just if naked people are on a screen, right? That is pornography, and you don't have to go further than that. Kind of what you were saying with the details.
Yes, and I think too that also is a layer of protection for them to keep that innocence that we feel so sad they're losing. Right. By not telling them it's connected to sex, we can still hopefully share God's good plan for what sex is, which pornography is a counterfeit, right? And we can keep them separate until they're a little older, and then they can understand that those are two very different things. This is God's good plan, and this is the devil trying to mess it up.
That's very good.
That's so helpful.
How, so you tell them, you have this conversation, or throw in a ball, or on a hike, in a car. You have the conversation. I think, as a dad, I what's the right rhythm to bring it back up? Because I have noticed that I want to I think our kids feel very safe, and that's why they're saying like, hey, kids at school are saying that they are looking at it, but I don't want to make it too big of a deal where I'm causing them to mentally go into another place.
And I would imagine too, along that same line, that a lot of parents are nervous, well, I don't want to create too much curiosity.
Right, because then they're going to go look for it.
Right.
But
so what do you say to that?
Well, my question is how often do you bring it back up?
Okay, we'll go there first.
Yeah, let's go there first.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm just how often do you ask every so often have you seen any pornography following up? Because I want to make sure if they feel safe to tell me. But is it hurting to keep asking?
Right. I would say just like any conversation that's about their safety, you bring it up occasionally. Wait a month and be like, hey, when you're on another walk. I mean, I remember doing this with our youngest. I was like, hey, remember when I talked to you a month ago about what to do if you ever saw porn? And he was maybe 10 and he goes, corn? Of course. I was like,
oh my gosh.
Glad you were really paying attention.
Yeah, right.
And that's kind of why you want to bring it back up, because they might not have really been paying attention.
Right.
But it's not okay, we're going to talk about this every week. It's every month, every 6 weeks, every couple of months, just check in. Do you remember what you're supposed to do? Because that's the biggest thing. We want them to know how to respond, because that gives them the power in a situation where if they had no information, they would be powerless. Mm-hmm. They now have a plan. In fact, I always tell parents, give your kids a porn plan. Change the name because you might think that's a terrible name, but I say it because they'll remember.
Yeah.
But they do need a plan for what to do if they see pornography. And so then when they have a plan, they've been empowered. And as far as the curiosity, that's always also another sticking point for parents. They're like, well, I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to make them curious. I think there's two important things to know about that. One, saying nothing is actually potentially so much more damaging than the possibility of them being curious. I wish also we didn't have to have these conversations. But since our kids are growing up in a world that is saturated with pornography, we do. Saying nothing leaves them open to the potential of greater harm than us actually having that first conversation with them. But also, I think it's important to be honest with our kids that if you are curious, tell me.
That's great.
Tell me that you have questions. Tell me if you're curious. Tell me if you heard a kid talking about it at school. I want to know because I want to help you talk through that. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have questions. Man, if we give our kids the freedom to have questions about anything, especially about anything related to sexuality, which is, as parents and Christian parents, a lot of times we get so freaked out by. But if we give them the permission to be curious and to say, I have a question about this, that is a gift that we need to now more than ever give our kids.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Grew up in a, I guess in my context and probably my personality, I was afraid to be curious about things. And so I think it is so amazing to consider now as we have kids, giving our kids the gift of curiosity and just knowing that even though we don't want them to be curious about pornography, but just knowing that hey, it's normal for you to have questions about things. It's normal to think wait, what is that? And to be able to be free to do that, it really does. I feel like it just unlocks a lot of the power of some of the things that they might be curious about that are not great or that could be damaging. But just taking away some of that power, of course, that sounds interesting. Right. But just creating those pathways, it feels so important. Yeah.
And even to say if they were to say to you, well, why would someone do that? And that's when you can answer again, honestly, because Satan wants to hurt people and he uses pornography to hurt people because our bodies are worthy of respect and honor. We're created in God's image, but not for everybody to see. And so it actually opens the door to such beautiful conversations about God's plan and God's design. Whereas if we just shut it down and well, we can't talk about that.
Yes.
We miss an opportunity to step into those places with our kids, which they need us to. That's why I called my book, It's Time to Talk to Your Kids About Porn, because we need to be unafraid to talk about the difficult things.
That's so good.
Yeah. I love that your title is like, it has urgency.
Very blunt.
Well, yeah, but I appreciate that. And
you have no questions about what it is.
Right.
What was your question that you were wanting to ask? Did you?
Yeah, it was about the curiosity piece.
I have a couple more questions.
Okay. You guys are really fun to interview.
Oh, okay, great.
I like
good.
it. Thank you.
Well, let's just keep going. We're just learning for ourselves because we want to make sure we're doing it the best. So what if you're a parent and you have not talked to your kid and you have a 13 or 14-year-old and it's just in your family, it's not being talked about, and you're at that point, what would you recommend to that parent if they're listening to that and they're like, we haven't ever talked about it and now I'm nervous? Like,
and could you also talk about the reactionary piece?
Yeah. Reaction of the kid
if
or the parent?
We haven't talked about it. I have a kid and now I've found out that he has looked at porn.
Okay.
Oh, I want to know that. So two questions again. I want to know. That's my next question.
Okay.
Hold on, Jordan. Greta, what do we do if we're a 13 or a 14-year-old? We haven't talked about porn, but now we're assuming, are they looking?
Yeah.
Like, what do we do with that?
I mean, we actually handle it just like how we did with the 8-year-old, but with more honesty by saying, hey, sweetheart, buddy, you may have heard about pornography already. You probably have in school or somebody has talked about it. Maybe they've shown you, maybe you've seen it. And I realize I should have talked to you about it before now. So I think that's the honesty piece of saying, man, I should have done this sooner, but I didn't. And that's going to be okay because we're going to talk about it now.
Yeah.
And so then to give them the exact same information, you may have heard about pornography from someone else. You may have seen it, but I want to tell you some things you might not know yet. And that's that pornography is dangerous for the person, the people who are making it. It's dangerous for you to see it or to use it. It hurts people. And I want you to know what to do if you see it. I want you to know that you can stop looking at it. I want you to walk away from it. I want you to come talk to me or dad or somebody else that's safe. If you feel like uncomfortable talking to us, let's come up with a list of people you can talk to.
That's awesome.
Because then again, they need to know they don't have to use porn. One of my biggest, my mind was blown when I was speaking to a group of teenagers years ago. And it was a public school. It was a charter school. They asked me to speak about pornography, but not make it religious because it was a public school.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I can do that. And all these teenagers, when I got done with the talk, ages, 13 to 18, they said, number one, no one's ever talked to us about this. Number two, we didn't know pornography was bad for us or dangerous or hurt people. And number three, we didn't know we didn't have to use it. We thought everybody used it. And so if that's what our teenagers are being told, that's the environment they're growing up in, we need to tell our teens something different.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter if they're 13 or 18 and we've never had the conversation, step in and say, hey, you may have heard this, but let me tell you the truth.
That's incredible.
That is so good.
Yeah. So that's your answer.
That is mine. Now we can talk about the reactionary.
Yeah. You found out, or you found pornography on your kid's laptop or phone or whatever. How would you recommend approaching it at that point?
I would say your greatest tool in this moment is compassion. And it's going to be hard because you're probably going to be dealing with a ton of your own emotions.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe your own history with porn, like maybe your own pain or your own use of it. Maybe you're dealing with frustration, disappointment, anger, fear. So all these emotions coursing through you. And then you have to deal with the fact that your child has done this. So if you can come react to them with compassion and even welcoming, and that is even like the look on your face. I always encourage parents to pray in advance for the moment that they find out their kid has used porn, seen it, they confess, whatever. Pray in advance that the Lord would even show himself through your face to them. Touch them if they will let you. Give them, hug them, put your hand on their shoulder. Say, I'm so glad you told me. Thank you for telling me. Like that's a transformative reaction.
Totally.
In a moment where they are probably feeling so much fear, shame, for you to say, thank you for telling me, I love you, I want to help you. Like, that's so different than like anger. What were you thinking? I can't believe you would do this.
Right. Yes.
Even if that's what we feel inside, like to be able to set that aside and ask the Holy Spirit to like show compassion and grace. And it will be hard. It will be one of the hardest things you've probably ever done, but it can make all the difference in the world for your kid.
Man.
How do you talk about the dangers? Like, what are the appropriate ways to talk about just the dangers of the addiction? Like, when do we start to explain what can happen in their future marriage and in and I would also love for you to educate us a little bit more about what you were talking about with like even statistics around
if you looked at it,
how much more often people that have addictions to pornography are going to cheat on their spouses. Like,
and why is
how
that?
do we unpack all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I would say by the time they're in like every parent knows their kids best. So their like developmental readiness for these kinds of conversations, but probably by the early years of high school, they can begin to understand what addiction is for sure. You know, they've talked about being addicted to, cigarettes or alcohol or drugs.
Sure.
So this is essentially, pornography is another kind of drug. One of my favorite organizations is actually that fights pornography is called Fight the New Drug, because they consider, as do most experts, pornography to be as addictive as a drug like cocaine.
Wow.
And so to be able to help our kids understand that pornography like impacts their brain, that it's not just like, oh, this is something I do if I'm bored or, I want to look at hot girls or something. Like, this actually has an impact on your brain, and it changes the way your brain works, because what happens is your brain craves dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical. It's not a bad chemical. God designed your body to have it. But there's supposed to be a limit, and pornography hijacks the limit. And so your brain is never satisfied. It wants more and more. And your brain stops working the way God designed it to work. And so you become addicted. And that's like simplified language for like a high school student, but a ninth grader could understand that and could understand like, this is dangerous. And in fact, one of the things I told those high schoolers when I talked to them that years ago was that pornography actually causes you to lose joy in the regular activities you used to find joy in. Wow. So no longer does it feel good to hang out with your friends or have a great hamburger.
You almost lose touch with reality.
Because it's sucking the life. It's literally sucking the life and the joy out of you in the things that used to make you happy.
Wow.
Makes sense.
And if we can share that kind of information with our kids as they get older by having those continual conversations, I think that will help them understand that this isn't just something that people in church say is bad. This is actually something that doctors and scientists and all kinds of different people say is bad for you, and there's evidence that proves it. So yes, we want them to know morally it's not good for them. It goes against God's plan and God's design. But let's also talk about the science. Let's talk about what it does to change a person, because we want to cover all of it, because it's all part of the story.
Yes, that's amazing.
Are there I've gotten nervous with like ways that I've started hearing about kids finding it. So where it's like, I feel like we started with like, it's on a computer, then it moved to a phone. Then there's sneaky ways where I have heard my friends who have older kids have been explaining the ways that even within Spotify, like, can you explain a few ways that parents might just be naive in the ways that they think of porn, and like what the way that we really should be thinking about it? What are those other avenues to consider that are helpful for us as you have done the research?
Yeah, they're really, you're right. The industry, the pornography industry is, they're looking for customers. And if they can get a customer as a kid, then they could potentially have a lifelong customer. And so when we have that understanding,
it's such a good way to say it.
It helps.
It is truly that.
Yeah, it helps us understand, like, they're going to try every way possible. So, yeah, it used to be movies. It used to be you had to go to the video store. It was so much harder to find pornography, but now they're putting it into video games, right? Video games that kids play, like Roblox or Fortnite, or games. And it's not just the games themselves. It's also if your kid's playing a multiplayer video game. So they're playing with strangers that your kid thinks is another 12-year-old, and it's really a grown, man or woman who is pretending to be a fellow kid, and it's like, hey, I'm going to send you some pictures, because you can send stuff through video games, or they can talk to them because your kid's sitting there playing with their headphones on and you don't know who they're talking to or what they're hearing. So that's one way, through video games and through the people who are playing the video games. It could be through, of course, things like Instagram and Snapchat, TikTok. They're even if your kid has a private account, someone could send them a message and they don't. If you haven't told them, don't check messages from strangers that come to your spam account or come to your, make it through somehow. Right. If they don't know because you haven't told them, that they could open it up and it could be something that is vile that they shouldn't see. Or it could be someone propositioning them. Wow. It also could be books. This always surprises people, but this is especially common for girls. Girls are introduced often to pornography through erotic books. Like they call them spicy books, right? Books that are actually really sexually graphic, and they're written for girls ages like 12 on up in the young adult section of the library or the bookstore. Or they're on, various like social media accounts, and they're books meant to drop them into that world and to start building a craving for more. So those are just three examples, and there's lots more. And we shouldn't be afraid, like, oh my gosh, I'm never letting my kid out of the house. I'm never letting them have a screen, because at some point, we all have. Yeah. They are going to have to interact in the world. And that's, again, back to the title of my book, not to beat a dead horse, but I called it It's Time to Talk to Your Kids About Pornography, because it's not just about putting like filters on your screens and parental controls on a phone. It's about conversations, because people are always going to find a workaround for a parental control or a block, or somebody else just shows them. Your kid doesn't even have a phone, like we said earlier. Yeah. So even if we put all those things in place, there will be a time where our kid is exposed to pornography. And if we haven't set the standard of, we talk about this together, then what are they going to do? Yes. They're left to try to figure it out on their own. And so, yes, we need to put those things in place. Put parental controls on your kid's computer and their phone. Use, monitoring software. All those things are so important, but don't rely on those. Make sure you're talking to your kids over and over again. Yes.
Have you seen any, are there any like very practical, I know you're creating amazing resources and we're pointing people to you, but do you have any other things that you've seen very helpful, like to prevent, whether that be as certain apps that are out there that parents would want to know about, or whatever the case may be, things that like resources that would help them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for sure, delay giving your kid a smartphone as long as possible. There are tremendous safe phone options. So those are things, sometimes they're called dumb phones, but they're phones that look like real phones, real, whatever. They look like smartphones. You can call and text on them, but they're not connected to the internet for, scrolling, not connected to social media. They're not connected to, you even have to like have a code for someone to send your kid a picture on those kinds of phones. And I mean, I think like your 13-year-old doesn't need a smartphone. That kind of phone will be perfect for them. Right. It will be enough. They don't need to have the best camera on the, $1,200 iPhone because they're 13.
Right. Right.
Can we just like calm down and stop acting like 13-year-olds need
When
this
did we get our first camera?
Right. You get them a digital camera.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, really like go old school. Yes. Like, and let them have fun with that. So I think delaying is really powerful. I think delaying social media is also really powerful, not just for the exposure to porn that's possible on social media sites, but also all the other junk that our kids have to deal with when they're on social media, the comparison, the stress of thinking what they're missing out on, just the waste of time. I mean, I know social media can be a huge waste of time in my life. So how much more so for kids who have more time to waste? Lucky kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So delaying is big, but also there's, things like, there's an app called Canopy, which is a great app for helping to remove inappropriate images on websites. The problem
Canopy,
yeah. The problem with social media sites, though, is when they're in apps, a lot of times that blocking software won't work in apps. And so that's why we have to be really involved and invested in what apps our kids are on.
Yeah.
And to know, for our kid to know, and we all share passwords. So when your kids are older and they do have a phone and they are on social media, my kids know, and they have known ever since they were little, they could look at my phone and there's not anything I'm hiding from them on there. Dad and mom share passwords. The kids share passwords because we don't have to hide anything.
That's great.
Awesome.
I do have some things when I've done research for talks and stuff, and I'll be like, okay, I have these pictures that I've saved. They're not explicit, but maybe they have stats or words or just ideas that I didn't want them to know about. And I'd be like, okay, this folder is not for you to look at, not because I'm hiding from you,
but this is mom's work.
It's not safe for you.
Yes.
So even having that open conversation of I'm not hiding from you.
That's so good.
But this is a way for me to keep you safe.
Building trust between you two.
Statistically, is it boys or girls that you've seen? Is it the same for both, the exposure to porn? Or do you?
I'm going to try to remember the statistic off the top of my head. I think by the age of 18, it's something like 93% of boys will have been exposed to or seen porn, and it's in the high 60s for girls. But I would say it's probably higher than that for girls now. Just girls are exposed more, using more.
I'm hearing more and more that girls are becoming addicted.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
More because we've just heard about the men for so long.
Yes.
But, I want to hear some of the redemption stories that you've, as you have begun speaking about it and sharing your story, and tell us about kind of what you've seen come out of these conversations that brings us hope.
Well, I love hearing from parents who tell me, my kid was on their iPad and a picture came up, and they said, "Mom, I think this is pornography. Come see and come help me." And the kid and the parent will say, because I knew how to have that conversation, they knew what to do. They weren't afraid to tell me. They weren't ashamed.
So great.
I came over, I looked at it, we talked about it, and it was okay. I get that feedback often.
It's incredible.
And that is amazing to me because, I think about Aaron, my husband, who he was exposed to porn when he was 12 and had no category of how to ask for help or who to talk to. He was just ashamed and afraid, right? And that haunted him for years. And again, that is not his parents' fault. They had what resources did they have?
Totally.
But we can change that for kids now by saying, let's talk about this. So if that happens to you, you don't have to be afraid to tell me.
Yes. Yeah.
That can change the trajectory of someone's life.
Truly.
Their marriage, their children, their grandchildren.
Generationally.
Yes. Yeah. The ripple
what could
effect.
happen.
I would also love to hear, as much as you're comfortable with, or as your family is comfortable with, what you could share with us about talking to your own kids and the parts of your story that you've shared with them, or, just to your comfort level, to what you've, honoring and respecting them as well. Would love to hear, just kind of, even as what you've learned in those specific relationships.
I would say it was really hard and scary to tell our story to our kids because when it all happened, they were tiny. They were 5, 3, and 1. So they had no idea what was going on. I mean, I was crying a lot, but
right.
Yeah.
Mommy cried all the time.
Totally.
Like
Right.
I could read them a story and I'd be crying.
Yes.
So it wasn't strange to them. And as they got older, for Aaron to come to terms with like, I need to share this story where I feel like I failed, to tell that to them, even though I'm saying, sweetheart, you are a hero. Like you changed. Yes. You came back and you worked hard to change yourself. Like I don't see you in that way.
Yes.
But it's also like I'm not the one having to share that story. Right. So it was hard. And I would say our kids responded differently. Our two older boys handled it so well. I think they had more context of that just being in the world with other guys who had, used pornography. They also knew Aaron and who he was as a dad, as a man of integrity. And so it didn't change their opinion of him. It was harder for our daughter, not because it changed who she thought dad was, but I think she had a different understanding of the hurt that it caused me. And I think that that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's actually a really important part of when we talk to our kids, and why men and women, we need to talk to our kids about pornography, because they need to hear that it impacts men, it impacts women.
Yes.
Yeah. And we need to know that it does cause harm and it does cause hurt. And then our youngest was like, he got it, but he also was, just a little more like, yeah, that was bad. And good thing, God forgives us when we make bad decisions,
Awesome.
Yeah. And we're like, yeah, that's true. And so as he gets older, more conversations will happen. But I will say, yes, it is hard to share with our kids hard parts of our story, but I'm so glad we did, because that level of openness and honesty that exists in our family is precious.
That's so powerful.
Yes.
And our hope is always, and we have expressed to them, that if you ever are in a place where you have a hard story, and guess what? You will.
Yeah, you will.
You can come to us, and we will listen. We will love you. We will walk through it with you. And that's a gift to offer our kids.
It is.
Incredible.
Yeah. And you're bound together in a different way as a unit and as a family, and moving towards, I don't know, just creating something new and different from generationally. I think it's incredible.
And it's not perfect. I mean, we've definitely made mistakes with our kids. And,
sure.
There are things I wish we could do differently, especially I think about like our oldest. I always tell, the oldest kid is like the experimental kid.
Oh my
right?
gosh. And then they get mad because you don't do that with the younger kids. And they're just like, why did you got to scold them?
Justice.
Yes,
so much justice. We get it.
Yeah. And it's not fair.
Yeah.
And I have said to him, I was like, there are things that I didn't know that, when you were a little kid, and I learned later, and I wish that I could have done this differently or done this differently. But that's why I do what I do, because I want to help. I want to help the parents who didn't know like I did, so that we can do this better.
That's so good.
And that's the best we can do as parents.
That's right.
It is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, tell us how we can hear more about what you're doing. Obviously, your book. It's time to talk to your kids about porn. And how else can we follow along with what you're doing and the resources that you have available?
Yeah, I'm so basic. I have my website, GretaEskridge.com.
Perfect.
And you can follow me on Instagram. I would say I'm most active there.
Yeah.
And I find that that's a great place to meet people who feel really scared to talk about this topic, whether their kid has seen pornography or they're dealing with it in their marriage or in their own life, and they don't feel like there's anybody else they can talk to know they can message me feels safe, because they know, like, okay, this lady she's gonna help, she's gonna listen, she's been there. And I don't feel like there's anybody else I can talk to. And I'm so glad I get to be that resource. So I ask people to to message me there, and I have resources then to share, whether they're a betrayed spouse or they're dealing with their kid has seen pornography or they're dealing with pornography issues in their own life. Like, I have resources to send to help them for those specific instances.
Man, incredible. Greta, thank you so much for sharing today with us, just the parts of your story you did, how to help parents out there navigating. I think one of the greatest things that we are experiencing in our own lives is just when we take everything that the enemy meant to hurt us, that is now, we've seen redemption, we've seen the goodness of God in the land of the living, and we're standing here to talk about it. But to watch y'all and hear your story and see the redemption in you and Aaron, and just getting to even see you at this event, I'm just so grateful, and thank you for staying and pushing through with him. And it's incredible. We just cheer you on in your ministry and say thank you for helping our listeners today. We're so grateful for you.
Thank you. I'm so glad you guys were willing to have the conversation, because I mean, this is where it all starts.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Greta, for teaching all of us and your wisdom and your heart for the family, heart for training and being a family unit that talks about hard things. We love our newfound friendship with you. So just so grateful that you were on today.
Yes. And don't forget to get Greta's book. It's time to talk to your kids about porn. This will be a very powerful resource for your family. So check out all things Greta Eskridge. Listen to her podcast. Go check out her Instagram and just everything that she's doing. We're grateful to Greta, and we're grateful to you. So we'll see you next time on Open Spaces.